Your psalm this morning comes from Psalm 40. Let's begin our worship experience by reading it together. I waited patiently for the Lord. He inclined to me and heard my cry. He drew me up from the desolate pit, out of the miry bog, and set my feet upon the rock. Making my steps secure, he put a new song in my mouth, a song of praise to our God. Many will see and fear and put their trust in the Lord. Happy are those who make the Lord their trust, who do not turn to the proud. To those who go astray after false gods, you have multiplied, O Lord, my God. Your wondrous deeds and your thoughts toward us, none can compare with you. Were I to proclaim or tell of them, they would be more than can be counted. Sacrifice and offering you do not desire, but you have given me an open ear. Burnt offering and sin offering you have not required. Then I said, here I am. In the scroll of the book it is written of me. I delight to do your will, O my God. Your law is within my heart. I've told the glad news of deliverance in the great congregation. See, I have not restrained my lips. As you know, O Lord, I have not hidden your saving help within my heart. Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, the time has come. We have spent 2 weeks now, after 3 weeks in a previous Leviticus series, getting ready for this moment. We're going to talk about the burnt offering. Here we go. It is in chapter 1, starting in verse 2. We did verse 1 last week. Speak to the people of Israel and say to them, when any of you bring an offering of livestock to the Lord, you shall bring your offering from the herd or from the flock. If the offering is a burnt offering from the herd, you shall offer a male without blemish. You shall bring it to the entrance of the tent of meeting for acceptance in your behalf before the Lord. You shall lay your hand on the head of the burnt offering, and it shall be acceptable in your behalf as atonement for you. The blood shall be slaughtered before the Lord, and Aaron's sons, the priests, shall offer the blood, dashing the blood against all sides of the altar, that is at the entrance of the tent of meeting. The burnt offering shall be flayed and cut up into its parts. The sons of Aaron shall put fire on the altar and arrange wood on the fire. Aaron's sons, the priests, shall arrange the parts, and the head and the suet and the wood that is on the fire on the altar, but its entrails and legs shall be washed with water. Then the priest shall turn the whole into smoke on the altar as a burnt offering, an offering by fire of pleasing odor to the Lord. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. You know, we are talking this morning about the burnt offering, and one of the, I think, difficulties, one of the stumbling blocks we're going to need to get over is some bad training that many of us have received. I think often people have gained Christian teaching and Christian perspectives that have taught them to kind of view this burnt offering as a bad thing, as an enemy, as oh, thank God we don't have to do that anymore. Thank God that Jesus has saved us from that. And there is some truth to that, but there's also a great deal of difficulty that's going to make this whole book just seem like kind of a slog, like just a bunch of the enemy, a bunch of stuff that we are glad to be rid of, and that we would just like as far away from us as possible. But the truth is there's actually some really good news in this, and some illustrations of some really wonderful things. And so I'm excited to talk with you about these. Now, just a quick preliminary. I read a very, very short portion, but it goes on like this for the first 6 chapters of the book. There's a burnt offering, which is a whole animal who is all the way burned. And there's instructions about that. And then there is an offering of fruits and vegetables, of stuff you grow. That's called a thanksgiving offering. Then there is a sin offering. Then there is a guilt offering. Then there is a fellowship offering. All of these different reasons you might want to bring offerings before the Lord. Now, the important question that you should be wondering, because there are slight variations in the way each of these offerings work, but they basically work the same way. And before we deal with any of them, we've got to ask the question, why in the world would I want to bring an offering before the Lord? There are all these options here. Where does that idea even come from? Why is God giving instructions on how to give offerings? Well, to answer that question, I want you to play a game with me. We're going to experiment with the technology in a way we haven't done so before. Now, if you look down here-ish, there should be a little thumbs up and a little thumbs down button. Do you see those buttons? All right, here's what I want you to do. Right now, press the thumbs down button. Just because there might be a thumbs up. What that's designed for is if you like the video, you give it a thumbs up. If you don't like the video, you don't want YouTube to show it to more people, you give it a thumbs down. But right now, just click the thumbs down and just kind of see what happens. You see, okay, now there should be a little 1 next to the thumbs down. Other people have probably clicked thumbs down too, but you don't see their votes yet. Because what you'll have to do is you'll have to go up here and refresh the page, and if you do that, you'll miss a moment of the video and it'll be confusing. But I can see it. I'm going to refresh my page when I'm sitting at home on Sunday morning, and I'm going to see all the votes for thumbs down. All right? Now, click that thumbs down again, and your little 1 should go away. All right, so if everybody clicks that thumbs down again, make your little 1 go away. Do you see how to do that? So these votes aren't permanent. You can vote down or up and it give an indication, and that's what I want to do. I want you all to answer a question with your thumbs up or your thumbs down. Here's the question I want you to answer. Are you ready? Okay, get ready. If you've got multiple people in your household, try to keep track. And you can be talking about this on the chat too, but I want you to use the thumbs down or the thumbs up, and I'm going to give you a score based on what people have put. Are you ready? Buzzers ready? Okay. Imagine you are a peasant, Bronze Age peasant. You are in an ancient society 3,700 years ago. And you've never been to school, you're completely uneducated, but you're not dumb, you're just not educated. And you're a farmer. And as a farmer, you gain an understanding of the sun that shines on your crops and the rain that waters them, but also the sun that can scorch your crops and the rain that can wash them away. And you realize that your success or failure in farming has something to do with you, as well as something to do with enormous forces beyond your control. And you come to the conclusion, you've never heard about Jesus. Jesus isn't going to be born for a very long time. You're not a Christian. You're not even a theist in our monotheistic sense, but you're just aware that there's something besides you out in the universe. There are some kinds of gods out there. And what are they like? You don't know. But you do know that you need the rain and you need the sun. And you get the idea in your head, maybe the gods like the same things I like. Maybe the way to make the gods happy is to give them a gift. And what kind of gift would they like? Well, I'm a poor farmer and I only have one thing. Maybe I farm carrots. So I'm going to give the gods some of my carrots. Well, how will I get it to them? Maybe I'll light it on fire. It'll turn up to smoke and it'll get up to them. All right. That's the worldview you're living under. Can you put yourself in that worldview? All right, get ready. Fingers on the buzzer. We're gonna ask a question. The question is, suppose you start doing that. Suppose you give a portion of all of your crops every year. Every year at harvest, you give a portion to the gods that they'll give you a good harvest. Now, suppose one year you don't get a very good harvest. The sun doesn't come in the right amounts. The rain doesn't come in let's say there's a drought, and you're hungry, and you need the gods to bless your harvest next year. You've got enough. You survived this year. You had a little storehouse, but you really need the gods' favor. I want you to click on thumbs up if what you would do is offer more. If you would give more of your produce to the gods, if you were that person under those circumstances, click the thumbs up. If you would give less because the gods did the wrong thing, you want to punish them maybe, go ahead and click the thumbs down. Do that now. I'm going to tally it up. Okay, have you done it? Make sure you're doing it. I'll give you a minute. Thumbs up for offer more, thumbs down for offer less. Okay. Okay, I should be giving an answer over there, right now. Okay. Now, clear your answers. So just make it so it says 0. There's 0 for thumbs up, 0 for thumbs down. All right, click on whatever you clicked on, click on it again, make it 0. We're going to ask another question. Suppose the following year, the drought ends, and what you get at the end of the drought is the sun and the rain, and they come in just the perfect amounts. I mean, it's just amazing. It's like hydroponic gardening. You've never had it this easy farming. You gave the offering that you gave, and great things happen. You probably gave more. Did most of you give more? I think you probably gave more in response to the drought. Okay, so now you get a bumper crop. Best crop you've ever had. You're experiencing a level of gratefulness. You're so glad. You've been saved. You've been saved from starvation. Now, I want you to give another offering. What kind of offering are you going to give now to the gods that you imagine control the weather? Thumbs up for give more. Thumbs down for give less. You going to give more or less in response to a bumper crop? More or less. Go ahead and click. I'm going to tabulate the answers. I'll hit refresh, and then I'll be back. We'll see. I hope you're all participating. I hope you give this a try. All right. This might not work. This might be just a technical disaster, but we're trying it. We are serving God with energy, intelligence, imagination, and love. Okay, clear your answers. I've got another question. Suppose the next year is just a decidedly mediocre year. It's just the sun comes, but it's kind of hot, and the rain comes, but you could go for more rain, and you have a perfectly ordinary crop. It could be more, could be less. Thumbs up or thumbs down? You gonna offer more, or are you gonna offer less in response to a meh crop? Okay, let's count that up. Let's do another one. Suppose that you are walking around outside and a miracle happens. A lightning bolt fires down from heaven and it just kills your neighbor. He's struck by lightning. He drops dead on the spot. There's an apparent divine intervention, and it seems wrathful. How are you going to respond to the gods? Are you going to offer more? are you going to offer less? Are you seeing a pattern yet? Suppose there's a miracle. Suppose a distant uncle was struck by lightning, completely unexpected. The God struck him dead, and you receive all of his inheritance. Now you're rich. Are you going to offer more? Are you going to offer less? Suppose it's been a drought for 3 years now. You're starving. All your kids are starving. You haven't had a harvest in years. You have nothing to offer. You don't have any more vegetables to give. You don't have any more animals. Even the animals that run the plow are gone. And you and your family, all of your kids, your spouse, they're all going to die unless something changes. What are you going to offer? You see, this system, which is the dominant system of the ancient Near East, always, always, always leads to offering more. No matter what happens, you got to offer more. You got to try to win, because you never know where you stand with the gods. There's no way of knowing, and so you offer more, and you offer more, and you offer different. Maybe the gods didn't like your carrots. Maybe gods really like plums, and so I need to trade my carrots for the plums and then give the plums, and then maybe gods will like that. And eventually this system that requires more and more and more and more of you and refuses to let you know where you stand, eventually it always leads to the same place. Where does it lead? It leads to your firstborn, right? It leads to giving the most valuable thing that you have out of a desperation, because there's got to be more that I can give. And you end up having to give a child. So this system, this sacrificial system, leads inevitably to child sacrifice unless someone can enter into it. And somebody can say, we need some ground rules here. This can work a different way. And that's exactly what we have happening at the beginning of Leviticus. That's exactly what God says to Moses. He says, listen, if you want to bring an offering, if you're offering a burnt offering from the herd, why do you want to do that? For what reason? It's just you are. In fact, if you follow through later, the burnt offering is for atonement. One of the best reasons to bring an offering is because you're thankful. And atonement doesn't mean forgiveness from sins. There's another offering for that, right? There's a guilt offering. Atonement means coming near. It's the word kippur. It's closeness. As an act of worship, as an act of sincerity. If you want to draw near to God and be close to God, be at one with God, and you want to do that by killing an animal, all right, I need to lay some ground rules. And here are the ground rules. First of all, I need you to look at that animal. I need you to look it all over. I need you to check under its hind legs and around it, and just, I want you to have seen the animal. It's important to me. It's going to be symbolic, because if you are a people that want to give offerings, and I know you are, you're a people that want to worship via the killing of animals, because all the neighbors do that, and that's how you've seen connections with gods. I, the Lord, am going to tell, but I need you to see that animal, and I need you to lay your hands on it. You have to touch it. I want your hand on the animal, and I want you to feel it breathing. And then I want an orderly system of priests who know how this works and are going to do it right, to slaughter the animal, to do it painlessly, and to put it on one central altar at the front of the tent of meeting. And that is going to allow you to come near. That's a way that you can participate if you want to. And the idea of if you want to is actually really important. It's here in the in the Hebrew. It's harder to see in the English. But when you bring an offering of livestock to the Lord, you shall bring your offering from the herd or the flock. And the offering is a burnt offering from the herd. You shall offer a male without blemish, and you shall bring it to the entrance to the tent of meeting for acceptance in your behalf before the Lord. Now there's a Hebrew word there that is rendered that means acceptance. The word is lirsonau. Lirsonau, which means of your own free will. And so it's an optional offering. You shall bring this offering that you accept. If that's what you want, then here's how you do it. I'll give you instructions. And I'll give you a way that actually, it's going to be sweet incense to me. You can know where you stand with me. If you do this offering and you do it the way I tell you to, I'm going to like it. And then you'll know that I like it. And you'll know that I've done it. And you'll know that you have done it right. If you want to give this voluntary offering, this voluntary offering, the burnt offering, is called the olah. And it's voluntary. It is a choice. You can do it anytime you feel you need atonement, anytime you want to give an offering for God. Isn't that interesting? So the most famous offering, the one that we talk the most about, where you burn an entire animal up, that is a voluntary offering. And actually, the vast majority of all of these offerings are voluntary. The burnt offering is, of course, voluntary. The grain offering, which is also called a tribute offering, that's something you're going to give because you're feeling thankful. You give it whenever you're feeling thankful. Then there's a peace offering, and the peace offering includes either a thank offering, a vow offering, or a free will offering. These are all optional. Anytime you feel like kind of sealing a vow or giving thanks to God, you just had a bumper crop, you want to give thanks, here's how you give a thank offering. But offer it of a sincere heart. Offer it of your own free will. Lirsonau. Now, there are a couple of offerings that are not optional. The guilt offering and the sin offering. That's where if you realize you've done something wrong and you want to make it right, here's the offering that you give. And it doesn't use that same of your own free will word, but of course, you're the one who wants to make it right? You're the one who wants to give something. And so you want to fix it. And you recognize, there's this recognition in the midst of a guilt offering, that when we do something wrong, we don't just hurt the other person, but we hurt God. We hurt our relationship with God. And so there's a worshipful, there's an I gotta see a priest aspect of this. Isn't that interesting? Now there's another piece here that I want to highlight. Of all of these offerings, right? You've got your burnt offering, your grain offering. The burnt and the grain offering, they burn the whole thing. You burn all the grain that you give. You don't put honey in it, you put salt in it, and then you burn it all. Or you burn the whole animal for the burnt offering. For the sin offering and the guilt offering, you give up an animal, and it's got to be your own animal, and the priests eat it. And the only part that's burned is the internal organs and the fatty portions. Now, I'm not a butcher, but I feel like the particular fatty portions being referred to are probably not the parts that humans feel like eating anyway. So it says those parts are going to be an offering to the Lord, and the rest are to be eaten in the court of the tent of meeting, the place outside of the tent of meeting, by the priests. They're there to enjoy that really nice meal, that fresh meat, right? And then if you've got the thank offerings, the vow offerings, the peace offerings that come afterwards, then you're going to split it up. And then God's going to have God's portion, which is the internal organs and the fatty portions. The priests are going to have a portion that they're going to eat, and you are going to have a portion that you eat with friends. So the vast majority of these offerings actually are barbecues. The vast majority of these offerings are an opportunity for you to give something and say, let's share this. Let's enjoy this together. What a different kind of God this is from the carrot God that we were afraid of, that needed more and more and more. This is a God that starts to say, hey, here's what coming near to me looks like. It looks like if you want to waste an animal, if you just have in your mind that the thing that I want is an animal just utterly turned to smoke, you can do that. And you could do it with something from the herd. You could do it with a calf. But it's got to be, you got to have a relationship with this calf. You got to look at it. You could do it with something from the flock. That's going to be something a lot smaller and a lot cheaper. A lamb, a ram, something like that. Or if you wanted, you could do a pigeon. You could give me... Now, when we talk about sin offerings, it talks about you have to give what you can afford, right? We actually talked about that together back in 2017. But now, it just says, whatever you want to give. It's a voluntary offering. So if you want to... And they use the word burnt, right? What do you want to waste? If you want to waste a thing for my glory, do it. You could waste a cow, you could waste a sheep, or you could waste a flying rat. Whatever you want. If you're full of joy. If you are just desiring relationship with me, come and do that. Or if you don't want to, you could give a thank offering or a peace offering, and you could enjoy that. Because there is this hope of having a meal with God. Isn't that beautiful? Now, I'm going to bring us to a close, but there's just one more idea in this sacrificial system that I'm really excited about, because God is teaching his people who like to give sacrifices because they've seen the neighbors do it, and he's saying, okay, but you're going to give sacrifices in a way that builds something, that builds a system that draws you close to me. And actually, there's this really fun way it's phrased. If any of you bring an offering of livestock to the Lord, or if any among you bring an offering of livestock to the Lord, there's a word order game that shows up in Hebrew. The way it's actually ordered, the words are listed. If any brings from you in offering to the Lord. So there's this, I mean, on one level, it's this, you need to bring an offering from yourself. You need to bring an offering that's your own animal. You can't have somebody else give you an animal and then be like, yeah, that's my offering, whatever, right? I took an animal from somebody else. You are that man. No, you can't do that. But the rabbis, who, I mean, when we're in Leviticus, we're in rabbi territory. They have debated this endlessly, and they think every element of word order is important. And they have the same problems we have with the sacrificial system. I mean, modern-day Jews are not practicing the sacrificial system. And Maimonides said, this is a commandment without reason. It's just unreasonable. Why would we kill an animal? It doesn't make any sense. And so one of the ways that's read is, if you want to bring an offering of you from the herd or from the flock or from the birds, bring your own animal, bring your internal animal, bring the animal that you are, bring the blood and the fat, bring the passions and the pleasures, and lay it on the altar. These are people who don't know Jesus. They've not read Romans 12 that said, offer yourselves as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. And they're saying, it talks about offering animals, but the offering that we really need to bring before the Lord? Because God doesn't eat animals. That's Psalm 40. We read that at the beginning of the service today. The thing that we really need to bring is ourselves. And if we want to bring something else, God says you can. If we want to worship God in this way that we see people worship God, God has made a way for us to worship him. Man, that is strong medicine. Because what that ultimately means, what this story, this beginning of Leviticus ultimately means, is that worship is not for God. Right now, churches all across the nation and in many places across the world are not meeting together. Many times, people are not gathering together and singing songs of praise. They might listen to songs of praise, but let's be honest, most of them are not singing them out loud. Do you think God is lacking anything? Do you think that by the church not coming and bringing our sacrifice of our song of praise before the Lord, God's ears are like, I wish somebody would sing to me? No, God isn't missing anything. You know who misses out because we're unable to gather in person at church? We miss out. Our system of worship isn't something that God needs. Our system of worship is something that we need and that God guides us in order to instruct us and in order to draw us close. Worship is for us. And that's what the sacrificial system teaches us. That we are the ones who have a need to draw before God. God doesn't need us. We need God, and we are the ones who miss out. We talked a lot about the blood. We talked about the animal. We talked about the tradition. I want to take my last chance here as I celebrate the finished work. Talk about the fire. I haven't talked about the fire yet. Have you ever cooked over an open fire? You ever cooked a piece of meat? Have you ever maybe made a mistake and dropped a piece of meat over the fire? Let it fall in. You noticed how long it takes for a hot dog or a small piece of meat to burn all the way through until there's nothing left of it? It takes a really long time. Do you know how big a cow is? What an amazing and terrifying and awesome pyrotechnic display it would be in the ancient world to build a fire so big that it could turn an entire animal to smoke. How big would that fire be? What would it look like? What would it feel like? The fire and the smoke. And what would it symbolize? Well, as I enjoy the fire, I want to encourage you to be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go.
God be with you till we meet again. By his counsel's guide uphold you. With his sheep securely fold you. God be with you till we meet again. Till we meet. Jesus.
let her step away from the inferno.